Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the VML Season 13. We are already in week 6, so only one more week until we close off the playoffs of this season. So everything is on now. These players really want to lock those wins to make sure they make it into the playoffs and get a spot in them. Don't forget that the top 8 of the VML Season 13 gets an invitation not only for the regional championship but also to the VML finals, which can grant spots for the championships and also for the Pro Tour. So very exciting things coming off. Today I'm here with Kuro. Kuro, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I can't wait to look at some of these matchups. They look really interesting for this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend everything is on. I mean, players really brought all that different kinds of decks. So let's take a look here at our meta breakdown for the week. And let me just say that today's show is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. So here we have, and Kuro, what do you have to say about this split here on the meta breakdown?
Well, we have sort of what we've been seeing in standard for the past few weeks. We have some mono white token control with your infamous caretaker's talent, getting to draw you cards, making tokens, basically being a tempered steel of this of a sort for this standard meta. Domain Ramp, a well-known archetype that's been here since rotation, since before rotation, just really reliable. Losing the multicolor lands from Capenna has always obviously been a problem, but getting the Surveil lands from Karlov Manor has been very nice for them. And of course, Azorius Tempo, a well known sort of breakout deck in the past few weeks, using Oculus. And a card that you would think is not playable in constructed because of the ridiculous casting cost, but turns out reanimating it makes it super easy. And you just have and then of course you have a bunch of other supporting archetypes that you've seen here and there. But yeah, it looks like we got some dominating tempo and card advantage strategies happening this time around.
I mean, I'm really excited to see such a diverse standard meta breakdown. I feel like the past few weeks we have been seeing this consistently, a lot of different decks, a lot of new strategies. So I'm really excited to see what our players that are going to be featured here this weekend have to bring to the table. So let's take a look here at our first match here for the day. We are starting here with Abby, and Abby is bringing Boros Auras. Now, Abby is 4-1 in our division, and this is where I say that this week is so decisive. Abby is really, really close into making her into the playoffs. Probably if she locks a win this weekend, she might be in. So this is a very important match for her. And Kuro, what do you think of this Boros Aura deck, which is kind of new?
Yeah, this aura deck seems extremely oppressive. Every single card in here is designed to get more damage out of the cards that you play. Every single creature gets bigger based on every spell in the deck. Prowess or Eerie or Valiant, all of those things all trigger off of every single enchantment or instant in the deck. All of the supporting cards, like Ethereal Armor or Monstrous Rage, add power to the creature, in addition to the creature themselves getting more power. Basically, every single card that Abby is going to play is going to increase the damage output, and that is going to be a huge thing uh, that Foxglove is going to have to fight against.
I mean, I feel like Mono Red was already so strong, and the only thing that it lacked is that it dies to removal. But here with these Boros, there's cards like Shards Made Rescue that provide X proof and makes things even more resilient and makes this deck very difficult to deal with. So let's take a look here at what Abby is going to play against this week. So we have here Fox G Love playing Dimir Midrange. And what do you think of this Dimir Midrange? It looks like a pretty classic Dimir Midrange build.
Yeah, you have your classic Dimir mid-range stuff. You have a really nice inclusion of Unstoppable Slasher and Enduring Curiosity from the most recent set, Duskmorn. And you have it's just a really good series of card advantage and removal. Really spicy entry also of Nowhere to Run to deal with all of those really annoying ward abilities that you might be having to deal with. It's kind of a nice built-in counter to Shard Mage's Rescue and Sheltered by Ghosts. So I think we'll have to see how this pans out, but I think those nowhere to runs are going to be quite important in this matchup.
I am really excited to see. That's a great point. So I want to see if we are going to see those nowhere to runs into action. So let's take a look here as our players get ready for what is the first match of this week of the VML. Both players are 4-1 in the division, so quite an important game and match for them. What do you think of these opening ends? Looks like Abby here getting two lands and then a good amount of creatures and spells. On the other side, also two lands and removal and creatures.
Yeah, I really like Abby's hand, especially in this matchup, because Fauxglove seems to have uh it really needs that third land, I think, to do anything important. Um, being stuck on two lands is going to be really, really bad for them because not being able to cast more than one removal spell is so pivotal. Because Abby can just slam down, hey, here's a protection spell, here's something else. That's the thing you're going to have to deal with.
And I feel like Abby here deciding whether to plot that card or to play a creature looks like Andrea plotting, which is really good against what Fox has in hand.
Yeah, it's interesting. Abby has to make a decision. Like, do you play into the removal spell and potentially risk a 2 for 1, or do you just go? Do you wait for later when Foxglove might play a creature and tap out? There's
And it
risk reward
looks
being calculated here.
exactly, and it looks like Abby deciding to go with all the creatures and knowing that probably Fox does have access to some removal, but mm, not exactly knowing how much. And there's still that ethereal armor in hand.
That was really smart on Abbey Rose because this is a telegraphing of the Shard Mage's rescue. Very purposefully keeping up a white mana just so that Foxglove thinks twice about potentially trying to kill the Slick Shot show off. If Abby did have a Shard Mage's rescue in her hand, that would have been a devastating blowout that would have resulted in that show off being like what 7, 8 power. Huge issue for Foxglove to deal with.
And look at this amount of damage. Very well, putting everything on the Sleek Shot show off, playing around the second cut down. And now there's the Shieldred's Edict, but that cannot quite get rid of that show off yet.
Yeah, this show off. If Abby draws a spell, oh well.
Oh,
Well, there you go. I is this lethal? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah,
yeah.
this is lethal. Exactly lethal, I think, because the shelter by ghost adds 1, the scavenger adds 1, and the slipshot show off is +2. There you go. That's it.
That is amazing. I mean, I really like the way that Abby played this game, and it just goes to show that not every aggro deck is easy to pilot. Actually, some of these micro decisions might actually be super important. Like, do you plot the Sleek Shot? Do you play a creature? So I really like the way that Abby navigated this game. How do you think
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Like playing around that. Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry. I was just going to ask you, what do you think of the sideboard?
Well, I do think that Abby is thinking a lot about playing against removal and just what you're going to do about that. Dealing with the Shieldreds, if possible, if that's ever going to be an issue, because realistically, Abby wants to win before the Shieldreds even land on the battlefield. You want to win before like turn 4. But if those Shieldreds do land and start gaining life, there's nothing Abby can do about that. Even though it is true that every single card in her main deck is designed to be more damage output for the game, uh, those things are going to be important to deal with.
And now we are seeing the other side. I mean, a lot of removal coming in, that's expected. Do you think that this Dimir is going to have trouble post sideboard dealing with the Boros, or being more prepared now with more removal being on the play will be an easier task to win?
I think knowing that your opponent is playing a really hardcore red white aggro deck means that you can side out card advantage because you can get your own implicit card advantage by removing their creatures before they get benefits, and so you can get automatic 2 for 1s. You don't have to wait. Like a hand like this with 3 deep covering bats looks really really good until you realize you're like, wait, I'm probably gonna get 1 or 2 bats down before Abbey Rose just tries to combo off essentially and win the game. So it's definitely like a cost benefit scenario, and Foxglove is going to have to figure out: do I save these removal spells, or do I play these bats and just try to ruin the hand?
And it looks like Abby down to 6 cards here, but a pretty good 6 card opener.
Ooh, yeah, for sure.
A lot of removal on Fox side, but only 2 lands.
Yeah, this is what I was referring to earlier. Like, unfortunately, if Fauxglove doesn't get like a fourth land, they can only cast one removal spell at a time, which sounds fine until you realize that single copy of Shard Mage's Rescue means that Abbey Rose's creatures are not going to die. Not for a while, anyway.
And we do have the protection that is visible. And you know what's best than one bat? 3 bats. Second one comes down.
Bats, bats. We are the bats.
Bats everywhere.
Foxglove knows that that one life point of life gain is not the thing that's going to determine the outcome of this game. It is the can you deal with all of the things that Abby is going to do. Like that hero can start buffing just because of that land, right? The demonic ruckus can start buffing the hero, and if the hero ever dies, that's extra damage that Foxglove has to deal with.
But anointed with affliction exiles, right? So
That
it
is
is
true.
able to deal with this extra damage. And there's another card, Disfigure, that works quite well against these creatures that deal damage when they die.
Right, because it's based on the power that they have. If this figure kills the creature and it's negative power, it can't deal any damage.
It's the same as you said with the Nowhere to Run, so great cards against these.
What a draw! Oh my god, that is such a good Shard Mage's rescue. Honestly,
And that's going to be quite a lot of damage, but I feel like Abby is almost playing Boggles, everything in the same creature.
I don't think she has much of a choice. She doesn't have any other creatures to work with, right? Because the
Yeah.
other ones are exiled, so she kind of has to go all in here. And Foxglove also has to go all in because how can they possibly like play around randomly drawing one of the three remaining Shard Mage's protections from her deck, right? Like you can't play around that.
So that's going to be quite a bit of damage there with the Monstrous Rage. Foxglove can always use this figure just to prevent some damage.
That is true. Though I think right now Foxglove is thinking, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Just prevent as much damage as possible. Foxglove is thinking, I so hope that Abby does not have another Shard Mage's protection, and
And
she
there's
does.
none.
Yeah,
Now, sometimes this deck encounters these weird situations where you have all these spells that pump your creatures, but you have no creatures to be pumped.
and the auto tapper was almost about to make Abby Rose not have white mana to cast the creature that she's about to get.
Yeah,
That
I
would have been
mean,
unfortunate. That would not have been good.
I've been there before.
Dude, put it on the long list of things that would never happen in real life.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. Foxglove's keeping up that go for the throat because they know that if Abby does not have the Shard Mage's protection, that is a 2-for-1.
Yeah. And now it's a bit of a matter of time because this fairy mastermind also going to enter the battlefield. Then you have the unstoppable slasher. So
Is it stoppable?
no, you cannot
Oh,
stoppable. It's scientifically proven unless
to
it
be
has some stun counters on it.
but yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's just can't stop. No, you're fine. Can't stop, won't stop, right?
Yep, never. And I mean, that's a great card to have right now, but it might not be enough because I mean, Abby down to 5. There's another fairy mastermind.
The really interesting thing, though, is that Sheltered by Ghosts gives hexproof. I mean, it gives lifelink. Sorry. So normally it would look really good, but you know, Fosco can just go, "Oh, hit you for 5,"
Yeah,
which
in
also
the
works.
air, doesn't matter. And we have a third game. So I always love when this happens. Now, we do have the Boros player on the play, which makes things a bit more difficult for Foxglove.
Yes,
What do
I
you
think.
think might change your post sideboard for game 3?
Well, considering how bad the bats were in that last game, Torch the Tower is extremely tempting. And as you can see, Abby's considering them instead of say the hammer hands or the obliterating bolts, just because it's a cheaper answer. And yeah, well, actually, that's it. Just because it's a cheaper answer, and the mana economy for Abby is going to be very, very, very important because she needs to be able to balance getting those threats out, but also being able to have enough like lands to cast those threats.
Yeah, Torture Tower seems pretty good against the bats, also the fairy masterminds, and if you do
Yeah.
bargain it, you can kill the slasher and then exile it, right? Because I think it exiles the
Oh,
creature.
it can be stopped. Oh my god, we false
Yeah,
up. It's so over for us. We wow.
we were
How
spreading misinformation here. It can in fact be stopped. All it takes is a torch.
one single torch.
Yeah,
Who would win? An assassin that's trained for years and years, or one single torch?
place your bets.
Place your bets.
Speaking of bats, we have one here now ready to look at the end. And I mean, there's only one creature, but we know that the slick shot show off is plotted away.
It's
Who
interesting
and
taking the Ruckus here because that scavenger is so insanely good for adding damage onto the battlefield.
yeah,
It's crazy just how much damage it can deal. And Abby's thinking about going all in.
I
Well,
like it.
Fauxglove knows that Abby has the just destroy evil right now, so it's so free to just kill this slick shot show off right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards in Fox Gloves and not a lot on Abbey Rose left. So I feel like this Boros deck is so good, but at the same time, Dimir just gets so many answers post sideboard, so many things that are difficult to deal with. So now we have the Anointed with Affliction.
Yeah, because Foxglove knows that all they have to do is side out card draw, side out counter spells, side in removal, and that kind of solves 90% of your issues. Because like every draw you get, you're dealing with the deck, right?
Yeah.
And Abby's sitting there like all she can do is side in removal for the bats. But she already has four main deck hexproof cards for the go for the threats.
And now Abby is in a weird position where yes, she has access to destroy evil. She can take care of the Aclazot, but then it comes back.
Letting the Acklezot's attack was so that's interesting because doesn't Acklezot's give a bat if you don't discard anything, or is it if you
It
discard a land?
draws you a card if you if they don't discard anything, you draw a card, and if it's a land, you create a 1/1.
Yeah, so letting Foskov have that extra land might be really, really, or extra card rather, might be really, really bad for Abby.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think the game is over for Abby. To be honest, I mean, things are
Oh yeah,
definitely not looking great. There's so many answers,
I mean,
and
if Abby magically draws four lightning bolts in a row, maybe she'll be fine, right?
no, because the Aclazot has lifelink.
Oh, dang it! Here I go, being wrong again. I'm sorry.
I mean, it would be a great thing if the Akazat didn't have lifelink. But now look at that. It starts discarding cards. If it's a land card, you create a bat. Uh, there's two Tishanastite binders.
Gosh, that Acklezot is so oppressive. Like it just the life swing every time it attacks is just so insane.
Yeah, it's definitely a great card. I mean, usually against more aggressive decks, if it stays on the board, there's nothing to do. Now drawing more cards, gaining more life. At this point, Foxglove is back at 20.
20 life. That's the amount of life you start with.
And I feel like a lot of times these Boros aggressive decks, like aggressive decks in general, that's why they are better in best of one, right? Like in best of one here, first game, Abi managed to win, but post sideboard, there's so many answers against aggro that it gets tough to win the game.
Yeah, it was definitely unfortunate. The first game was so explosive and it caught Fauxglove off guard. But like after sideboard, like you say, it's just what do you do? You know,
Great games. I really enjoyed the games here. Kuro, what did you think of these decks after seeing them in action?
I really, 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 really liked the Boros deck. I really liked it because I love that every single thing in the deck is to create more damage. It's just unfortunate that sort of the way that the sideboard exists and the way that the matchup worked, that she felt like she was obligated to put in removal, which takes away from dealing damage to the opponent. That's just really unfortunate.
So I have heard that you are a fan of grindy matches. So I think next we have something perfect for you. So let's take a look here at our next players as we are headed off for a pretty grind match here. Starting with the mighty Linguini. You might have heard of her. She's been in the VML since the beginning and she's 4-1 in her division. So again, we are in week 6. Caroline really close to getting it into the playoffs, playing Boros but control. So instead of this Boros aggressive deck that we saw, these Boros focus more on card draw with Caretaker's Talent, a lot of removal, Beza. So a lot of ways to just eventually win the game and control it. What do you think of this deck, Kuro?
So you know how in the last Boros deck, every single card was designed to deal as much damage as possible. This deck, other than Urbast Forge, as far as I can tell, every single card in this deck is to make the game last longer and to make it harder for the opponent to win, which is the polar opposite of what we saw in the last matchup. However, it fits basically every standard control, like what control this wants. It has card advantage, has a good sense of removal. You have a really unstoppable force in the form of Urbas Forge, which is just historically a really, really oppressive win con that just can't be answered by most answers. And you have life gain and healing. Like there's just everything you could ever want in a control deck is here, other than counter magic. But that's okay with me. I'm happy to take other non-blue control decks under my wing. It's not a problem. This is perfect. This is the this is great. I like this. Me like
And
you.
I me like it too, and I love Lauren of the Third Path main. I mean, this card is so good, and usually it's a sideboard card, but I feel like there's so many good enchantments and artifacts in the meta, so I'm
Oh yeah.
excited to see that one into play. And let's see what Mighty Linguina is playing against. Uh, May is playing Dume in ramp. So once again, we have another grindy deck here, and I feel like this deck is one of those decks that has been surviving standard the longest, alongside with Dimir midrange. This deck has been here forever, and now it gains some different cards with the Overlord. What do you think of this deck in Duskmorn?
Well, with the loss of Capenna Trilands, we gained with the Overlord of the Hauntwoods. A single Overlord gives you an Everywhere token, which is a land that is literally every land type. So you just have one land, and oops, that's your domain for 5. Congratulations! You don't even need to try for anything else. Don't let the looks deceive you. This is basically a green-white ramp deck with a white main. This also is a very much like a control deck. The only difference is that this deck is more interested with developing its lands, whereas the Boros deck is more interested in developing its creatures and non-land permanents. So this is a very much this is both of these games are going to be very much like removing your threat, drawing some cards, trying to outlast the other opponent, and also maybe don't mill out. That might be bad for
Yeah,
reasons.
I mean, we were talking before today's tournament started. I when we saw this matchup, I was telling, I think one of these players might mill out. Like, what are the odds? And Kuro was like, they are there. The odds are definitely there. I mean, both of these players have drawing effects that are not May abilities, so I'm curious to see if we are going to see someone end up milling away. And I love May's answer here on the questionnaire. How did you approach your matchup this week? Vibes, baby. So, love the answers. The vibes are there. And let's take a look here at our match as we get ready for our second match of the day, Mighty Linguini versus May. And Phoebe here speed up a bit our match because surprise, it went quite long.
All right, so yes, looking at this hand for for May is it's definitely good to have these up the beanstalks because the Mighty Linguini is going to be spending a lot of time killing these up the beanstalks with the get loss because it's just so much card draw. If May's able to get a couple of those down and just draw a bunch of cards, it'll work. However, Mighty Linguini might try to take advantage of that and force May to mill. You know a game's going long when someone plays a Traxa, looks at the top 10 cards, and goes, I don't really want any of these, and ships them all to the bottom, regardless of what they actually are. And you're sitting there, you're like, wow, like that's how many cards that are being drawn this game.
Now, I love these Caretaker's Talent and Urbarska Forge kind of tempo. And it's very difficult to deal with because suddenly the Sunfalls don't do much,
Yes.
and we see that May S2 in hand. Look at this three up the beanstalk. I'm starting to think that it might be a possibility that May will run out of cards.
It is possible, but we'll have to see how this pans out because if she's able to cast a single Atraxa, the Mighty Linguini is going to have to deal with that. And this forge is going to be a huge thorn in the side. May's only removal to the forge are these leyline bindings. There's no other card in the main deck that I can see. Yeah, there's no other card in the main deck that can actually kill this forge. So the Mighty Linguini probably has recognized this and says, I'm going to just cast these artifacts and make it really difficult for you to answer these and sort of force you to play leyline bindings. But Mighty Linguini has main deck answers to those leyline bindings.
And Kuro, you were saying how it was a tremendous loss for this domain deck to lose the Capenna Triumphs. And
Yes,
we can see that now with this Leyline Binding costing 3 mana instead of the usually 1 mana that we see it cost.
that is true. But you know what's good is a 5 mana destroy target token, draw 3 cards.
I love it. And you make a 1/1 as well,
Oh my gosh, so powerful. That one that
eventually.
what you know, it has a dream.
It has a dream,
It
it
has
has a motive.
it has a story to tell.
And I mean, this is like turn 4 and we are already discarding cards. Okay, turn 5.
Well, every single card that you draw counts in any grindy matchup because the resources you have matter. May is like, do I discard a land or do I discard Elspeth's Smite? Because that Smite might be the difference between winning and losing if it kills a single Urbask Forge uh, token that's attacking her, right? So she has to think about that decision. Does she keep a land? Because if she gets land screwed, that's also an issue because the way control wins, the way midrange wins as well, is to get these lands down and to be able to deal with these threats with the mana. So yeah, she is spamming these ley lines down before the Mighty Linguini can cast a Get Lost on any of these bindings.
Yeah, and I mean, and turn this card 4.
I think I would probably discard just 4 lands here at this point, just because May has tons of lands. She knows that Up the Beanstalk will draw her into more cards.
And
The only problem. Oh, go ahead.
why do you think May decided to use the ley lines right away instead of waiting for Mighty's Linguini turn in order to not have to discard the cards right away?
So Get Lost. If Get Lost hits the Leyline Binding before the ability resolves, the card is never exiled, which means that the Urbas Forge will retain their counters on them, which is really, 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 really bad. Because then May will take 4 damage. But if Mighty Linguini plays a Get Lost in one of these Leyline Bindings right now, then it will enter and it'll get only 1 counter, so May will take less damage in the long run. And May knows that dealing with these leyline bindings, dealing with these forges is going to be really instrumental because she literally has no other way to deal with these forges other than the leyline bindings. Those leyline bindings may as well say destroy target Urbas Forge and kind of have just no other text.
That's actually very insightful, Kuro. I loved your answer.
Thank you. You want a less useful answer?
Yes.
Because it's extremely funny.
Okay. I mean, it's still a valid answer, but the first one that you gave was just I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
I
I
told you.
learned something today.
I don't know what you expected.
Look at this amount of cards in hand. I mean, both players just drawing, but as you said, Mighty Linguini needs to find an answer for this Atraxa.
The Atraxa is almost certainly going to get killed because my Linguini has tons of removal spells in their deck. 4 Get Lost, 4 Sunfalls, and May is not playing any counter magic. So neither of these players are playing counter magic. So every single thing they cast is going to resolve. It's just a matter of do you have an answer for what's being played? And May's sitting there with Atraxa, and literally what I described earlier, she played Atraxa and she got 1 card. She could have gotten 6 cards with Atraxa because there were like so many different things, but she got 1 card because that's all you need.
And look at these 3 more card draws with Atraxa. Oh wow.
And look,
I
top
want to
deck.
see how many cards left in the deck.
I
At least
feel
10.
at this point it feels like there's probably about 25 cards in May's deck at this point. That's sort of my general feel right now.
Discard 4 more.
I would almost be tempted to discard the other Atraxa and just start playing Archangels instead to force Mighty Linguini to play removal on them. Like
I
you
mean,
need
that's
the
a great idea.
you need the binding to deal with the forges if those ever get unlocked. And you need to get lost to deal with potential to deal with caretaker's talent, to deal with virtue of loyalty, maybe. In enduring innocence is not a huge problem, I guess. And May really needs those caverns so that the archangels can have something to do. Okay, she's going all in. She's discarding all the removal. She is going on the aggressive right now on turn 8.
Yeah, knowing that there's a limited amount of answers.
There's another get lost.
Angel, are we going to see which angel? Okay, so looks like it's the Archangel of Rat for now.
Yeah, and since Archangel of Wrath is a 4 mana spell, it doesn't trigger the up the beanstalks. So these are actually prioritized right now, because now she doesn't draw 3 cards, so she isn't discarding half of her hand every single turn.
And
Oh,
yeah, just going with everything, trying to apply a little bit of pressure per turn.
the little 1/1 that could. I feel like my Yunguini is gonna play a Sunfall here. It just feels like it. I have no evidence for this. I just feel like it's gonna happen. I don't know if that's correct. Ooh, Beza. Beza's still good.
It is. It draws you a card as well.
Draws a card, makes 2 tokens, makes a treasure token, gains 4
Yeah.
life.
Then
You know,
you draw a card as well from the Caretaker talent, so not
oh
too
yeah.
bad.
Beza's such a hilarious anti-aggro card. It does literally everything you want it to do against aggro. It's so annoying to play against.
I love Beza. It's become one of my favorite cards. I mean, I was thinking today that if I'm playing Orzhov, I prefer Beza as a 4 drop than Childred, and that says a lot.
Especially when you're playing against a lot of like mono red or red white or anything like that. Like you play
Exactly.
Shieldred's nice, but it can be killed or it cannot block, and then oopsies, you lose. But Beza, it makes the blockers. It bakes the bread. It gives you a cheeseburger. You know, takes care of your kids. It does everything.
We love it. I love Beza. It just brings me back when I'm down, you know?
That is literally and probably figuratively true. Both at the same time.
And both players have Beza.
Um, yeah, this other Beza coming down is hilarious because that is just going to make tokens. But that's also what Maya wants. Maya does not want to draw more cards. Maya does
Yeah, I
not
mean, we see that attracts in hand, and I think May's like, I don't want to draw 3 more cards.
It's so weird. You're like, drawing more cards, bad. But that's how
So
that is.
I have a question for you. Does this Overlord, if you imprint it for 3, do you draw the cards or no?
Yes, you do draw the cards because it's an alternate cost, but the spell is still a 5 mana spell. It's the same. It's sort of the opposite of why adding kicker does not make it a 6 mana spell. But kicker is an additional cost, not an alternate cost, so it's not the same situation. Oh, there's the Destroy Evil, by the way, for that uh, Forge. But the Forge isn't doing very much right now. It's a 1/1 turn. That's
I think
39.
the Mighty Linguini needs a Sunfall here.
There's
There
the
he goes.
Sunfall. Yeah.
Draws a card.
But this is interesting. Mighty Linguini's at 7 life. This is not insignificant amount. 2 Archangels and Linguini's dead. That is it. No ifs, no buts, no coconuts, right? So May's played 2 Archangels so far, I think. Is that correct? I feel like that's
Yeah.
correct.
And I think
Okay.
this Atraxa might be trying to exactly find the last one.
Yeah, because there is exactly 4. Let's see. There it is.
There it is. I mean, you had to find it, right? At this point, there's not that many cards left in the deck. Now, does Mighty Linguini have the gain 3 life, deal 3 damage? And
Yeah.
there's actually 4 of it in the Lightning Elix in the deck, so that might be a little surprise.
Yeah, there's a little bit of lightning helix action going on. My Luini's potentially her hand. She hasn't played a single one this whole game, so I'd be very surprised if she didn't have a single one right now. I think that Beza and the Sunfall are probably gonna. Oh, Sunfall and Lush Portico. Okay, nothing wrong with that. May is interested in watching May Luini tap out right now. That's what May wants. Like a Sunfall is completely fine, not a problem, right? As long as Linguini does not have the mana to fight against these double Archangels.
Which, to be fair, Mighty Linguini needs the Lightning Elix to do so, and then to be able to deal with the Archangels. Ooh, that's a 10 then.
It is a 10/10. Oh, is it getting bindinged? Oh my gosh.
That's interesting.
So I think the really unfortunate thing about this matchup is that we're really feeling the effect of not having the Capenna lands right now. If May had Capenna lands, she could play both Archangels right now and win the game. But because she's only playing Bant colored lands, she doesn't have an extra black and red for that second Archangel, then there's no way to play both Angels this turn and win the game. She has to play one this turn and one the turn after, which is a huge problem for her. Um, Even this Overlord's not going to help because it's going to make an everywhere token, but that token is like 5 turns too late.
And are we going to see it?
3 more cards. Oof, that deck is getting low. But at least Leyline Binding has full domain now, which is good.
So now Mighty Linguini needs to have something like a Sunfall or double removal and Lightning Elix. Maybe she has double Lightning Elix that can take care of one of the creatures.
If the Get Lost can kill the Archangel, and then the double Lightning Heals can kill the Overlord, and then Linguini goes back up to 9, which is honestly probably fine. Oh, Carrot Cake gains 3 life. That's still pretty good.
Yes, but is there still way to deal with a token?
Well, May has a ton of removal. So Linguini, it's not about Linguini making blockers. It's about Linguini having ways to not die.
Yeah.
um okay, so Beza is definitely going to be really good here because that is an extra 4 life.
But if the thing is that May as Leyline Binding and Get Lost. So that means that she will be able to take care of both creatures that Mighty Linguini has and attack for 6.
That is true. But Linguini has exactly 2 lands right now. 2 mana, a treasure token and a land.
Oh, there's a treasure token. That's right.
There is. The thing is Linguini also has um those extra um incubator tokens from the previous Sunfalls. So this
So the
haunt would
question is there Is
But
there removal?
she almost doesn't need removal because Carrot Cake also gains 3 life and makes a token. So right now she's staying alive really well. I think Linguini is also recognizing, wait a second, I might be able to just win this game by not playing anything because May has running out of cards.
Yeah, but it's a lot of resources every turn to be dealing with all of these things over and over again.
Yep. They both players have tons of life gain in their decks. And this is sort of like I think what we saw in the earlier game when May was discarding so many cards, that really hurt her, unfortunately, because she was just trying to draw and draw and draw into stuff. But now we're feeling the effects of it. She might actually just mill out and lose the game that way. And there's sort of nothing that she can do about it because there's no reshuffle or effect like in the deck. This 4-1 comes in, just takes it because why not?
Yeah, probably thinking about the lightning elixirs.
I think if I were May right now, I'd be thinking seriously about is it at all possible to win by milling out my Linguini here? That Enduring Innocence and Caretaker's Talent is forcing Linguini to basically draw 2 cards a turn. Um, but May has been drawing so many cards from those up the beanstalks. There's another Beza. This Overlord's not looking so good anymore because those up the beanstalks have been just hurting her so much.
Yeah, so we have there. Sorry, I think my internet died for a few seconds, but I'm back.
You're good. So did mine.
Okay, I was like something happened, but I'm not sure. But I'm glad we are here.
We are here. I mean, the thing is even if our internet dies for a couple minutes, like this game will still be going on probably.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's not even a problem, right?
but now
So
I'm too committed to see how is this going to end.
oh,
Let's be honest, it could go out for like 20 minutes and we'd still be here.
we'd still be here. Well, mostly we got us a double torch the tower happening. So I think the thing is, Mighty Linguini is using resources here, and the one thing that she doesn't have is weirdly enough. I know this is weird to say, but the one thing that Linguini does not have right now is excessive card draw. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, Caretaker's Talent and Enduring Innocence. That's all the card draw she needs. But you look at the number of cards in both of these players' hands. Linguini has 3. Linguini has 3 cards. How does she deal with like what's going to happen for the next couple turns?
We
Right? She's
might be
running out of
see an
gas.
end here.
May would have won the game, except there's an incubator. So
Oh,
that's
and it's a
1.
big one.
It is a
Or
big
no,
one. No, it's a
not enough
1-1.
though. No, it's a small
I mean,
one.
it's a little bit of a big one. So if Linguini has yet another Sunfall, that might be game actually, because May is forced to draw too many cards. As you can see, there is a visible card uh, at the bottom of May's deck. Now, how can that be? Except for what is it, like Atraxa, something like that?
And look at the card draw now going on. So really
Wait,
looking for that.
yeah, that's it. May mills out and loses the game. That's
I knew
crazy.
this was going to happen. I felt it. I mean, both players just have so much card draw.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it really was all of those spells and up the beanstalk that really killed her. I think only 2 might have been necessary to win the game. That goes because that way you don't discard so much. It was just really unfortunate that that's how that ended up happening. And in the red white tokens deck, there's some. Oh, okay. For the domain sideboard options, I do like bringing in the negates. I do like bringing in Jaces, just because if you bring in the Jace, then that wins the mill, like the mill situation, right? Sunvalls are kind of whatever because the tokens are temporary. Ghost Vacuum is a very interesting choice, but I do like it. I actually really like this hand. I really like this hand a lot. So the reason why I really like this hand is because you have double Overlord, so you can pay 3 mana on turn 3, get the Overlord down, then you get a land token. Then after that happens, you can potentially draw an untapped land, and then like a large Portico right here is perfect. So turn 3, you foretell one of the Overlords, get a land. Yeah, you need that get lost. Get a land, go to 4. Then on turn 4, you play 5th land, play another Overlord, go to 6. Next turn after that, Archangel Wrath comes down. Boom, that's 1. 4 damage all over the place. Second turn after that, Archangel Wrath number 2 comes down. Boom, boom. 2 more pieces of damage that you get to deal out. And this is just a lot of like resources that May has. The only issue is she doesn't seem to quite have the she doesn't seem to quite have the card draw. So this Destroy Evil is pretty good for May because it is using one single card to destroy the Overlord, which is really good. This Forge coming down is really useful, except there's another Overlord. So now Linguini has to think, okay, now I got to get rid of this Overlord. But May is basically playing Rampant Growth. Target player discards a card, right? Oh, but the Lord kills it. Absolutely cool because it's an enchantment as well. Very, very neat. No, it's so cool. But now this Archangel's coming down, killing the Lauren and also dealing 2 to the face. Oh, for sure. It's just cheap enough that it doesn't force you to draw cards, but it's just much of a threat. Like when I'm playing control against Domain, it's really, really annoying getting past these Archangels because they can enter, deal 4 to you. Like you can't block it. It's really hard to deal with. Gains of life back. We heard you like Overlords. Have a third. But it doesn't really stop the card drop because that fountain port can sacrifice those map tokens. So now, like that fountain port is going to be able to sack those map tokens. So your Linguini is not really losing that much card advantage. And there's another talent on top of the deck. Oh my god! Taking care of business. Yeah, the question is, does Linguini activate it immediately, or does Linguini wait for the Urbaz? Oh, yeah. That is an unfortunate wait because... Oh, but the Carrot King makes a token and draws a card. Yeah, you're right. So you take the 5 here, obviously. Yeah, because there's no reason not to. Yep. I was thinking the exact same thing. Or a Leyline Binding. Leyline Binding also works. Oh, but she didn't wait. She didn't use it while Linguini's tapped out. So now if Linguini has a Get Lost, that Leyline Binding is not going to take those counters away from the Urbaz Forge. That's really interesting. What is Linguini looking for? It's possible. Takes the 7. Okay. There's a Get Lost. So now, like, we're back to... Ooh, that is a Jace. 40 cards in the deck. So Jace is not going to mill her out. That's not really a priority. So it's more of a matter of, yeah, mill 3 cards, draw a card. This is such an interesting Magic card. I don't know how to even evaluate it because the cards you make become 1/1s with no abilities. Or sorry, that's wrong. They become 1/1s with the same ability that they had the whole time. And it's so hard to evaluate. Oh, that resolved? Oh my god, there's no Get Lost? The Jace isn't even attacked. That's so interesting. Oh yeah, because Helix kills it. Yeah. Okay. I do like that quite a bit. Is Ghost Vacuum sacrificed at instant speed? Let me double check. It does not. So you have to sacrifice it at sorcery speed. So you can't just sack it and make tokens in response to, like, say, a removal spell. That's actually really important. Traxa? Beza's good. Just when you think May is in a downward spiral, she gets a Beza, and that is a way to get there. Does it destroy evil? That kills the angel and not the leyline binding. That is really interesting. That's an interesting choice. I like it. Yes. So May's gonna play the Beza, get 4 life, draw a card, see what happens. Huh! Oh, that is a clutch draw for May, and Linguini does not have a single way to deal with this Atraxa resolving. True, she can kill it with removal, but look at how much card draw Linguini has. Basically nothing. Fountain Port did not draw a card with the treasure, unfortunately, so that's a fish token. Oh, the caretaker's... Oh my god. Right as I say, she has no card draw. There she is. I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. There's so much stuff going on. So I guess if I'm May in this position, I'm thinking about what do I want to draw with the track set. And I'm thinking I probably want to draw a removal. I probably want to draw another Overlord. I probably want to draw another Angel. I probably want to draw another Jace. I'm just thinking about, and holding up Negate for sure. It's probably the most important thing. There's a fill, there's a leyline, there's a get out, and what land do you take? I think any of these lands are a reasonable choice, but ultimately I do like the Surveil land just to get it down. Oh my god, another bite. That's really good. I guess the question here is, when is May going to pop the Ghost Vacuum? I think that's the most important thing. Because when May pops the Ghost Vacuum, that's going to be a lot of 1/1s making a lot of things happen. And Linguini's sitting there like, how do you deal with what's going on? That Sunfall gets negated. Linguini's like, what's the last card in Linguini's hand? It's another Sunfall. Okay. So now that that's happened, we get a nice little emoji from May. That's a token. But this Tranquil Frillback is going to be able to destroy the Caretaker's Talent, which takes away Linguini's last piece of card draw. And this Ghost Vacuum is able to get so much value from sacrificing and getting all those creatures back as 1/1s. And they all have flying too. So May will basically be ramping to an absurdly ludicrous amount right now. Oh, that Lauren comes in. That's right. Oh my god. And although those only look like 1/1s right now, never underestimate the ability of a 1/1 to ruin your day. Destroy the token, exile the graveyard. Not like exile the graveyard has tons of things. As you can see on the top left, there is a notification that Linguini is about to run out of time in the matchup. This is something that happens sometimes in control mirrors, or rather grindy mirrors. You just got to kind of deal with it, roll with the punches. Linguini is looking for answers, draws a card, doesn't seem to know what to do here. May draws a Beza in case Linguini ever gets a board state ever again. Do you like drawing 3 lands a turn? Because I like drawing 3 lands a turn. Overlord is absolutely smashing and killing it right now. The only thing I'm concerned about is if Linguini gets one more Sunfall, May's board kind of just goes away and we're back to square zero. So I think it's a really huge risk to be overcommitting here. But considering Linguini's cast so many Sunfalls this game, it's very unlikely that she'll have them. So it's probably not a problem. But it's definitely something to keep considering, especially since May can probably easily win with what is currently available on the battlefield. She wants to shut down any card draw right now. She does not want that Enduring Innocence to trigger. She does not want those Urbass to trigger. The fish does let her draw a card, unfortunately, but that's fine. And Linguini's sitting here like thinking, how do I get out of this game? I need to draw another Caretaker's Talent. I need to draw another Forge. I need to draw this. I need to draw that. I think at this point, with the amount of card advantage that May has, both in terms of lands and in terms of actual cards, I don't think there's a way Linguini can win this game. I think this is death by 1,000 paper cuts. And by paper cuts, I mean really tiny elephants. Or I don't really know what Overlord of the Hauntwoods is. Is it like an elephant? Oh, it's not even close to an elephant. It's basically a Volgavoth copycat lookalike. Okay, well, here I am providing misinformation as usual. It is what it is. Okay, this Enduring Innocence is drawing some cards. We got some tokens down. Linguini has some card draw, has the Fountain Port, has the Carrot Cake, can gain some life. So she's not technically dead. The base draws more cards, makes more tokens. So Linguini's like, I can draw more cards. I can potentially get out of this. May says, no, get lost. I don't want you blocking my stuff anymore. Thinks about the binding, decides against it, and decides, I'm just going to keep attacking. May has basically infinite mana with all of these extra land tokens that are coming down, so that's not a problem. Linguini's thinking about what tokens to block with, obviously. Stem the bleeding as much as possible. Carrot Cake's going to gain life. I think the thing is, if I were in May's position right now, I need a negate, a second copy of negate, because we've already used the first copy and the Sunfall way earlier in the game. Right now, that second copy of negate is going to be so clutch to get rid of any potential Sunfalls that are going to be that Linguini's going to try to do, because that Enduring Innocence is drawing tons of cards right now, and like that is pretty much the only out that Linguini has. That and the Fountain Port.
I mean that, and
Fountain Port's
something
such
was
a
put
nice
on
card, to
top,
be
so I
honest.
think
You
we
can make a
might get
token
a
with it, or you
Sunfall.
can draw a card with it, and it's extremely versatile. It's one of those sleeper cards that, not sleeper cards, but like it was really kind of okay in the start of Standard when it was released, and then and then people sort of realized just how quietly good it was. And you know that Fountain Port's a good card when you play against it, and you're like, man, I can't deal with this onslaught of fish.
What is this card?
All right, so we have I believe this is a sideboard card that just came out, Bone Horde Dracosaur, a one of in Linguini's deck. A card that on your upkeep, you exile the top two cards, you can play them. So in case you wanted more card draw, this is it. This Bone Horde Dracosaur, is going to be 2 extra cards a turn for Linguini, on top of the cards that per turn that she's getting from the Enduring Innocence that is currently drawing extra cards. We got lots of shenanigans happening this game. Unfortunately, May also has tons of draw because of that Atraxa that's in her hand right now. And she's saying, no, 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 you cannot deal with my stuff with all this extra stuff. Also, I need to get rid of those Frillback, or I need to get rid of those Enduring Innocences. Those need to go bye-bye. So it's time to pay some green with the ridiculous amount of mana, get rid of the Innocence, exile the graveyard, gain 4 life. Unfortunately, the Innocence comes back as an enchantment. So, yeah.
So what is the out
I
here?
think I feel like I'm interpreting this wrong, but I actually think that I think that May is trying to mill out Mighty Linguini right now by basically forcing her to draw a ton of cards. Wow, Jace, Exercise, and 8 lands. That is a little unfortunate, but that's okay. It's not a problem. I mean, May clearly does not have enough lands in the battlefield. Sarcastic voice. Wait, where did the other? Oh, I completely missed this. The Tranquil Throwback kills the Enduring Innocence, and normally it has a trigger that would result in it coming back to the battlefield. However, the Tranquil Throwback also exiles the graveyard in the same ability resolution, which means that the Innocence cannot come back. And it can't come back because it's exiled before it can resolve the ability. And since it's not in the graveyard when the ability resolves, it can never come back at all. That's a really, really cool use of the Throwback ability.
How big is
Um,
this token
that
though?
Jace being drawn, by the way, on May's end, probably wins her the game. I'm assuming Linguini has less than 15 cards in her library. That might be wrong. But with the amount of card draw that's currently happening on her side of the board, I fail to see how like May loses this game. Because I don't think She has it.
I mean, I feel like Jace is just a powerful card, and we saw things change here in the previous game, so we might see a milling situation for Mighty Milinguini. That would be so funny. Okay, so what do you think of this Jace, Kuro?
I mean, I think it's like the I win the game card here.
I love it. I mean, I just gotta love that both these games ended up going. We have a game number 3, and Mighty Linguini has less than 10 minutes left on the clock. Are we going to see a win by time?
I don't know. This has been such a yeah. I mean, it's possible. The timer went up for Mighty Linguini, and I think you saw that as well.
So we do have a lot of cards here. I loved how Ghost Vacuum acted on game 2, so I'm really excited to see here on game 3 as well. I feel like this is one of those cards that plays a lot against usually decks that do some graveyard interaction, but here just seeing the Ghost Vacuum acting on game 2 is really nice.
Thanks for your patience, folks. We are experiencing some technical difficulties across the, well, Atlantic Ocean. So, uh, okay, there we go.
Filipa, are you good?
Yes,
You chilling?
I feel like my, I don't know if it's my internet, but today it's like freaky deaky.
Yeah, I feel so bad. I didn't realize you were talking like I was trying. I didn't see you at all, and I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I don't want to spend the whole stream talking about that, but
Don't worry, don't worry. I was just like, my internet is acting freaky deaky. I don't know what it is, but I'm glad that I'm back. I'm glad that I'm here. I felt like the ghost vacuum, I was like, am I here or not?
you know what else is freaky deaky? This turn 3 Jace that might come down. Oh no! That's a forge! The forge is forever!
I mean, I love this forge, and there's no answers on the side. I feel like this card is just MVP. You could just not get lost it. You just leyline binding is the only answer, right?
It is so annoying playing against Forge's control because most of my answers don't actually deal with artifacts. I'm sitting here looking at Get Lost going, are you serious right now? You've got to be squidding me.
Ooh, and we have here Leyline Binding, the one and only answer for this forge, but May is not sure.
Well, here's the thing. That frillback is also an answer for the Forge because it gains 4 life and destroys an artifact. And there's no way Linguini can counter it.
Ooh, but now there's also the Caretaker's Talent, so now there's answers for both of those. And because of the Overlord, that land is everything, so that Leyline only costs 1.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made that May should probably only do 1. Oh, she does 2. Okay. Time to gain that life. Yep. Definitely kill the forge. Get that stuff out of here. We do not want any more forges. We do not want any more tokens. Go home.
We don't like you.
Get out. Well, not get lost. More just
No.
num num eating the forge. And it's really nice too, is that the fillback is a nice answer because Linguini can't just get lost to the leyline binding to make it to get it to come back.
And look at these, another Overlord, 2 ley lines. I feel like May just has a lot of answers this game, but we saw how Mighty Linguini won that first game out of nowhere, and I just wish we could see how many minutes are left.
I know that Linguini had a 12-minute warning. I don't know if May had a similar warning.
Not yet, but I see that warning
Ooh.
on Linguini's side to go down, but we cannot see exactly how down it is. Because that might change the play pattern that might Linguini might approach the game.
There's a Bonehorn Dragon, or Dracosaur. Normally, that would be very threatening, but that Leyline Binding is looking real good right now.
Oh, and that Ghost Vacuum, getting it, getting the abilities, seems pretty good.
I do like that, actually. Oh my gosh. But then it has to die. The Leyline Binding would exile it.
Oh, that's true. We would need like a get loss or something for that.
Yeah. Honestly, it's okay, though. There's nothing wrong with exiling the Dracosaur.
And we are going to see probably that Atraxa next turn also getting a bunch of value.
The value of a computer disk of that size. There's an
Ooh.
Overlord.
See, that's why the Overlords are just so good.
I absolutely adore the mechanic. I love the fact that it's suspend, but like it's on the battlefield because I like it. Just makes more sense.
Yeah, I want to see more cards that imprint. They can be very powerful, but I think they did a good job of balancing them with the Overlords.
I think the only issue with the Overlords I have mechanically is the fact that they trigger at the end of the turn rather than on upkeep. To me, that just doesn't make sense. I'm just like, wait, they trigger at the end of the turn? That's weird. So they become a creature first on your opponent's turn, essentially,
Yep.
which is interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel conflicted. Like I talk
It's
about it in
okay.
therapy.
It's a new mechanic.
That's true.
So we're still all adapting. It's a lot of new things going on.
Oh yeah, for sure. It feels almost like a future sight mechanic because it's only on these 5 mythic rares. It's literally not on any other card. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Atraxa getting the value that Atraxa always does.
It absolutely.
Ooh, okay, another talent. But no answer for these big creatures. I think Mighty Linguini needs something like a Sunfall to be able to get out of this situation.
Yeah, she really wanted to get that card draw from the carrot cake token, but she did scry that to the top, so there's probably something silly happening.
But there's also a negate, and the
That is
negate
true.
is known, so
So if Linguini wants to play Sunfalls, she has to play Sunfalls one turn after another. But if that were to happen, she's taking 7 damage from here because she blocks this, and then 13 damage in the next turn,
maybe a
and then she's
Beza?
Beza might be it. Beza's not a creature, so it can't be countered by negate. Oh, she's passing the turn. Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
Is this it?
it might be.
Is this the end of an era? Is this the final countdown? Is this I can't think of any other good quips. I ran out.
We will see because now we have that Archangel. I mean, double Archangel.
They're almost not even necessary at this point, I think.
Yeah, just with that negate in hand.
Yeah. May is very comfortable here saying, I can definitely negate whatever Sunfall you play. Oh, that's so interesting. I love that, actually. So now Linguini gets cards.
And some life with the Caretaker's talent as well.
Oh
With the
yeah.
Carrot's Cake.
Num 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 carrot cake.
So
Fountain port
good.
and Fountain port and lightning helix. Oh, that helix is so rough, being exactly not enough damage to kill Archangel. That's so like unfortunate. Phew.
Just gaining life.
Can Linguini eke it out? Based on what I see here, I don't think she can. Uh, and the reason why is because that Archangel of Wrath in May's hand can kill the tokens. It can kill. It can shoot the face. Like it's just really really rough.
Yeah, so this is going to be a bunch of damage there from the Archangel
That
and
is in fact a lot of damage.
just attacking with
Shut-
Atraxa, so we do see the get loss. Ooh, but getting the negate now means that it.
Oh
Okay,
no.
actually, things are still in the air.
Oh my gosh. This is definitely oh my gosh. Okay.
Although there's a ghost vacuum, but
There is a ghost vacuum, but there's a forge and a lightning helix. Oh my god. No wonder this game took an hour. There's so much back and forth. It's so exciting though.
it is very exciting. And I just wanted to know how long there is in Caroline's side because there's also the timer situation. And May still at 33 life, 30 now.
There's a forge. I mean, she has to play the forge because otherwise she just can't use it at all.
So, what is exiled with this uh, ghost vacuum now? I mean, the Traxa for sure.
She's exiled a
There's
bunch of stuff. Other than the Atraxa, it's mostly like stuff from Linguini's deck. It's not really creatures.
oh, that binding is amazing.
This is probably just getting Atraxa, I think. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's so many cards. That is gross. No Overlord though. Decides not to get it.
And there we go. Binding that Dracosaurus is now going for a bunch of damage with these flyer little angels and the Overlord as well, because why not?
I heard you liked to go everywhere.
Yeah.
There, yeah. Enduring
A-
Innocence.
And I mean, we know about that negate, so this is going to be game.
I think I think that it's finally over. Is that right? Is it right? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, you can negate this for style points. Yeah, there you
just
go.
because why not? Just to show off.
There it is. And the forged token dies, and Atraxa and two Archangels connects in, deals 7 damage, and Domain is victorious.
Wow. I mean, what a game, Kuro. We got everything on this one. I must say, so many different points for this one. What was your favorite part?
It had to be when the Ghost Vacuum popped and there were 3 Overlords attacking every single turn as flying 1/1s. And so every turn there were 3 everywheres being made. Every single turn. And so by the end of the game there were like 20 lands on the battlefield. And they're just tokens. They're just tokens. I'm just like, wow. I can't. That's amazing.
I mean, props for both players. I feel like they played these games so well. So I'm excited to see what we have next. Let's take a look as we go for our third match of the day, which is probably not going to be as grindy, but we start with the Dimir mid-range deck. Amanda playing with Dimir, and this one is a bit different, Kuro, because it's a Dimir Fairies.
Yeah, this is a really interesting take on Dimir. I'm not used to seeing some of these cards. You have Fairy Dream Thief, Steamcore Scholar, Spell Stutter, a reference to an insane magic card back in the day, and a really interesting engine, Props Eidetic Memory, a card that boosts your creatures if you've drawn more than one card in your turn. Um, I really like this deck. I think it's really interesting. I want to see how it pans out.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm also really excited to see the other deck that we have today, which it's actually Azorius Temple. So let's take a look here at our other player, and Feder playing this new deck with Oculus. And I mean, what do you think of this Oculus deck that you said to me that at first you thought it was kind of a more mimi deck, and then you saw how strong it is actually?
Yeah, it feels like a meme deck because sort of the idea of reanimating an Oculus with Helping Hand of all cards, Helping Hand, a card that basically never saw play in standard until this exact deck happened. But then you play against it and you're like, oh my gosh, they're paying 1 mana for a 3 mana like powerhouse. And so you can keep up mana for Phantom Interference, you can keep up mana for 3 steps ahead, for Soul Partition, for Into the Flood Maw. Like you have some nice, you have Chart of Course, Moment of Truth, and Picklock Prankster, which can all meld into the graveyard, which either gives you the resources to play it raw or to just play a Haughty Jin and just get it into play, it feels like an upgrade from the mono blue deck that used to be in standard before like Bloomborough was released. Really, really cool list. I'm really excited to see it in action.
I'm really excited as well. I love Jean, so I'm excited to see it back into the standard game. So let's take a look here at our third match of the day. And we see here Amanda play on the play. Ooh, that's a pretty good hand. Spell stutter, cut down, go for throat, Aclazar.
This is deceptive. So here's the thing. Cut down is actually not that good here because the Jin is almost always going to be a 2/4 or more. And the Oculus is always a 5/5. So the cut down doesn't really kill anything, sadly. Go for the throat is very, very nice, but Feather's whole deck is about reanimating these creatures. So killing it is sort of eh. Spell stutter is probably the strongest answer to what's going on here, but without any extra fairies, paying the extra two is actually extremely easy for Feather to do because the reanimate spell only costs 1 mana. And if she mills a Oculus right now with a Picklock Prankster, and then untaps, plays a land, plays Recommission, Helping Hand, that's it. Like the spell starter can't counter it. Amanda has to go for the throat the card, but then Feather untaps and does it again, right? So unfortunately, Amanda really needs like a board presence to put some pressure on Feather because if she tries to play the full control, it might not work out.
Yeah, I mean, and we do see here that there's not even a second blue source
Yeah,
available to try to double counter.
I was just about to say like, yeah, you're
Also,
100% correct.
Feather not playing anything. Usually, this deck does have the Picklockers. There's some card. Okay, so there it is, the Picklock Prankster.
There it is, and that's a moment of truth, I think, or is
Yeah,
it a second prankster? Yeah,
and there's Moment of Truth in the graveyard, some other things in the graveyard. So we already have Helping Hand in hand, but there's no Oculus, no Jean. There might
that
be a
is
Shard, of course. That's usually the way.
that is fair. But like, not even if Feather doesn't have the Jin or Oculus in the graveyard, it's like, well, maybe they just have it in the hand and just play it right now and go, okay, well, what are you gonna do about it?
Probably go for Throat.
So the question is, does Feather answer this Acklezotz? I think that's the most important thing right now. If Acklezotz is not answered, like Feather is going to have to discard a card, which is a huge problem. But the Oculus does block this Acklezotz very, very well.
Yep.
So I'm not even that upset about it.
Now we have the go for Throat. Still keeping some answers up. Does Feather have any way to deal with the Akuzot?
Directly, no. Well, there's a couple get loss. There's 2 soul partitions, and then there's some into the flood mods. So it's all tempo based. Here's a flood mod, right?
Yeah.
So Feather has 2 flood mods. This is insane tempo for Feather because Amanda counters this 1 mana spell with a 2 mana counter, and Feather goes, okay, sure, and then plays a second one, and then Amanda's sitting there like, well, what do I do now? It's a hard decision.
I mean, and now also this leaves the door open for Feather just
Oh,
to play that.
there it is, the second into the flood mod. That's
Oh
crazy.
wow. And now things are actually looking pretty good for Feather.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because now Feather has tons of mana to work with, and 6 mana is, and then the helping hand comes in. It's like, well, what are you gonna do about that, Amanda? Like, unfortunately, Amanda does not have the removal for this Oculus. A second Oculus. Oh my god, it's so Jover. I
Yeah,
think
I
unfortunately
feel like Feather was manifesting this result.
manifesting these results. Is that what you just said?
Exactly.
They're
Yes.
manifesting. They're manifesting dread. Is that what that is? They're
Y- Manifesting a lot for sure. I
manifesting
mean,
lots of it.
what do you do against this? You have a 4/4 flyer, but your opponent has 2/5/5 flyers.
2/5/5 flyers that could potentially create more Oculuses, or Sorry, I guess technically the correct word is oculi. Creating more. Oh well, look, get lost. Well, time to concede. Well,
Oh my god.
I mean it's a 2 turn clock, and Amanda does not have board wipes. This is definitely the type of matchup that needs Anoint with Affliction and Duress. 1,000,000%. I like the idea of the Tidebander here, but I think the Duresses are just the more necessary. Oh, I love Ghost Vacuum though. Ghost Vacuum
Yeah,
is such a cool like sideboard tech here.
I love Ghost Vacuum as well. This is the exact the type of matchup that is so good against.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do have other things as well, and I don't see the rest is going in.
Really?
I
Oh
mean,
my
I'm not
gosh.
I'm not seeing it.
I guess Amanda's thinking surely the going on the play, playing a Ghost Vacuum early, having Anoint with Affliction should be sufficient.
I mean,
I'm
it
very,
seems like a very strong combination.
I'm very surprised, but I guess maybe it's because the Piglock Prankster is like the primary thing. A no lander. Oh my gosh.
Okay, this is better.
Moderately better. I like it. You have 2 blue sources now, which is good. Unfortunately, she doesn't seem to have any really threatening cards.
I have to say
Oh,
the sleeve choice is impeccable though. Look how cute.
it is very cute. I do like it. I do
I
not
f-
mind the oncoming idea of Fibblethip becoming the mascot of this game. Just the
I
entire
would
game.
I would love it. I mean, it's the cutest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so go for a troll. Not
What?
really wanting that.
Really? That removal is so like important in this matchup because you really cannot let Feather pass the turn with an Oculus on the battlefield.
And
Yeah,
getting cut down there.
that cut down is so unfortunate. It is unfortunately probably not going to do very much here. I wish that were duress right now. Because then we could see Feather's hand and we wouldn't have to speculate about what's in it.
Yeah, or the Ghost Buster will also be pretty good.
That's
And
not
there it is. One counter down.
Feather stuck on 2? Oh no, she purposefully. That's so interesting.
Guess who's
Basically,
back?
back again. It's the Jin. Oh no! Amanda is drawing all the wrong cards in all the wrong order, sadly. Although she is now able to exile this Jin, which is good.
And I mean, exiling Oculus eventually and then getting them as 1/1s doesn't seem bad, does it? Because
No,
then
it's
you're the
actually
one
quite good.
manifesting.
Oh yeah, manifesting everything. Unfortunately, that's all that Amanda has against Feather now is to exile these Jins. If Amanda's reckless and exiles this Jin, she may be in trouble because Feather can just go, okay, I'll play a land and just do something else.
So let's see here what that sleight of hand is going to get us. Another one.
Another sleight of hand.
You can never have enough.
You know when you ponder into another ponder and you go ponder, 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 ponder?
It's the dream of a control player, isn't it?
um, yes, kind of. I mean, cryptic command into cryptic command into cryptic command is definitely more of a dream. No, this mill is actually good for Feather. Oh, this invasion is so awkward right now because Amanda does force Feather to discard a card, but it also mills Feather 3 cards, if I'm not mistaken.
So maybe this
Um,
card should go in out of sideboard next.
well, if Amanda can win this game, then yes, for sure. Moment of truth. No counter magic either. I'm not exactly sure why Amanda hasn't played the invasion, but I guess she's recognizing that if she mills enough cards, then Feather can just play Oculus.
Yeah, maybe
But
just also threaten counter magic, like bluffing it.
I guess that's fair. But at a certain point, you have to sort of just recognize that your opponent is just playing a deck that is built to get Oculus out. And like you're not going to be able to just wait and try to bait your like if you do wait there and do nothing for too long, your opponent's just going to start playing stuff. Especially if you're bluffing. Let's see what I want to know what the back gets. This is going to be important.
Let's see if there's a counter magic here for the bat.
I don't think there can be. There's only negates and phantom interferences. So this bet is always resolving. But it will get soul partitioned. That because the gin makes everything cost one less. I always forget about that part of the gin.
Ooh, there's
What?
still a Sleight of Hand and Into the Flood Moon.
That's
Those
pretty
are
strong.
pretty good cards, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this invasion would not have done anything. Pretty much, like Feather would just go, "Okay, I'm going to discard a land."
Attacking here first, very interesting.
If I'm Amanda here, I would definitely want to Ghost Vacuum a spell in the graveyard so that I don't take as much damage. But she decides not to do that. This is interesting. I guess she's preparing for like a potential Oculus.
I love Oculus. I mean, it has become one of my favorite cards of the set.
I
So
think this
fast.
Yeah, I think this matchup is really illustrating exactly just how like out of nowhere Oculus is because I think people sometimes don't know how to sideboard against it, unfortunately. Like not having those duresses were really unfortunate. Those cut downs still being in the deck was like really unfortunate because it's like they don't really do anything. Um Keeping Invasion of Amonkhet in the deck because when your opponent wants to mill cards is like
Ooh, and there it is, the Oculus doing Oculus things.
there it is. If only cut down said if both power and toughness are 5 rather than yeah.
Yeah,
Don't cut down. Yeah. So that manifest dread though mills a spell.
that gene is getting bigger and bigger.
I think unfortunately the play for Amanda would have been exile the card from the graveyard so that the Jin is a 0/4, then cut down the Jin and force Feather to play 2 spells.
Well, you
And if
can now do the vacuum, and a 1/5 should do it with the cut down, right? One
no, because
four.
there's a Flood Maw in the hand in Feather's hand. So
Oh yeah, that's true.
if they cast the Flood Maw on the Dream Thief, or even like gift it and make the vacuum go back, then there's 2 cards in the yard, and then that's it. So this Flood Maw needed to be like baited out somehow, or just removed entirely. And now it's getting removed, but Feather has this Oculus online, and if Feather found a Jin or an Oculus under that manifested card, that's kind of it. Like, what else do you do? You know?
So have we a little chump block there?
I don't mind that. Drawing the extra card is very nice. Gosh, this Oculus is so scary to play against.
Yeah, I mean it's a good card. I think. Do you think this card is going to see play outside of standard?
I don't know yet. It's a very particular strategy that sort of relies on a format. Like Modern has stuff like Path to Exile and Solitude that can deal with the Oculus quite easily on instant speed. Legacy has Swords to Plowshares and Force of Will to deal with this type of situation. And they're like if you're playing Reanimate, you're gonna play better Reanimate cards like Goryo's Vengeance, right? So this Oculus deck works really well in this standard format, sort of because of the vacuum of the removal is just bad enough that like it's not a huge problem to get the Oculus down, but it's also like the format's good enough that it's a contender, but not like a game brokenly good contender. It is, after all, just a tempo deck at the end of the day.
Yeah, I could see it play Pioneer somehow.
I can see it in Pioneer. I don't play very much Pioneer, so I apologize, but I'm not a very good like person to ask about that. Is that what Traneth Ruins does? I I've never seen this card before. Literally, not once. What? Where's it
See,
from?
Amanda here showing us new cards. I love it.
What set is this? What? Is that a real set? What? Wait.
Is this magic?
Oh, it's Martian Machines Aftermath. That's why I've never seen it because it's Aftermath specifically, which is a very
Yeah.
particular set. Okay. I'm back
Surprised
on
it
the same
even made
page.
it into Arena.
Wait. Well, I think all the Aftermath stuff was in Arena, right? But like the set itself was just so small because it was basically supplemental that right, because that's where the red bingle, the one that like enters and deals 2 damage to something, right? And then you can sack and make a golem, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I am now understanding what's happening. I'm here. I had to talk through it, but I'm good now.
And look at this value. Moment of truth. I mean, the damage is there, that Picklocker Prankster. How much is this Gene going to go for?
Apparently +2.
There's still the vacuum on the other side, but Amanda is like one step
Yeah.
from conceding.
I mean, at this point, with the ridiculous amount of tempo Feather has, I don't see how Amanda can win aside from drawing a literal board wipe, which is not going to happen.
Good game here. I mean, I
GG.
love that we got to see how strong this new Azorius tempo is. I mean, fairly a new deck in standard, but I feel like it's here to stay.
Oh yeah, for sure. It feels like a menace, and it's really hard to play against too if you're not prepared for it. Like, unironically, the best answers I've had to that deck are like bounce spells, because you bounce the Oculus, and they're like, oh heck, I can't play it a second time. That's weird. And then you bounce the Jin, and they're like, oh, I just reanimated that. You can't
Yeah,
do that.
but just the mirror plays these kind of spells. No one else is playing bouncing spells, so I mean that is going to be very difficult to deal with the meta. Cut down, which is one of the most popular removals, does not do anything against it. So I love to see it. Love to see new decks make it into our meta breakdown. And we have one more match here for today. So let's see what is the last match of the day. Starting here with Sammy. She's playing mono black mid range, and I gotta say, I love it. I'm a big mono black fan, so I'm so excited to see Sammy playing it. What do you think of this deck?
I mean, this Bloodletter of Ecclesots and Thoughtstalker Warlock are two really interesting pieces in this deck that just basically Deep Cavern Bat, but like +5, you know? It's really cool. This is the type of deck that would really like a Nykthos, you know? Like, look at all the devotion that you could have. And also, Unholy Annex slash Ritual Chamber. What a cool card to be playing with. It's just basically all the best black removal, all the best black card draw, all the best black damage. It just works.
I am really excited to see it on the play. I mean, I love to see new decks and different decks make it into the meta. I saw this deck a lot in best of one, but glad to see it as well play here in best of three and to see all these demons into work. On the other side, Sammy is going to be playing against a fan favorite. So we have Crowtaur playing Domain Ramp once again.
I really, 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 really like Overlord and the Miss Morse. It's been my go-to win condition in control decks, and it's so nice to have. And if you attack with it once and you play it once, you have 4 tokens. It's so hard to deal with. Everything I've said about this deck has been said already earlier. Oh, this one has herd migration in it though, so there's a lot more board presence with this deck than the previous one.
I honestly feel like Overlord of the Mistmores is the best Overlord. I might be wrong though, but it's my favorite. So
I think it's debatable, right? Because the black one is the cheapest one, and that one has technically the most probably the most like possibilities for a combo deck. But the white one is probably the most oppressive one because it reminds a lot of people about Grave Titan. Like if you've played during that standard like 10 years ago, Grave Titan was one of the most oppressive, like at the time, most oppressive win conditions because you play it, you make tokens, you attack with it, you make tokens. So hard to deal with. It basically created blockers while you were attacking. And those types of threats are the really, really threatening.
so I guess before we start this last match of the day, I have a question for you all watching. Which one is your favorite Overlord? I mean, I'm curious to see which one is the one that you are preferring. For me, it's the white one, but as Kuro said, it's very debatable. So let's take a look here at our last match and see our players getting ready.
I like these lockdowns against this Bat and Bronco. It makes it really hard for Sammy to get some early stuff down. But other than that, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Crowtar has a lot of tools against this.
I mean, Sunfall is great against cards like the Slasher. Just the exiling effects are super strong, but again, there's cards like the Bat and the Stalker that can take care of that. But if it does enter the battlefield eventually, it is very strong.
Absolutely. It depends on if Crowtar can get those lands. Like drawing an Overlord, a green Overlord would be fantastic.
And I think that Crowtar would much prefer having a large portico here because the Stalker is very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Cavern's not necessary. Getting the, of the Beanstalk turn 2 into Lockdown turn 3 is kind of awkward here, I think. Because it's like you're exiling your own Beanstalk. But sometimes you just have to do it, I guess.
Bat, 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 bat. Let's see what the bat gets. No more temporary lockdown.
That is very interesting, because, like, I don't know if Crowtaur was actually going to cast that Lockdown at all. Because that Overlord, the Mistmores can come down now. And that's kind of an issue. Because this draws a card with the up the Beanstalk.
Well, there's the Stalker. Maybe the Stalker would remove the Overlord now.
Oh, true. Yeah. More discard. But this is permanent discard. Yeah, there goes Overlord. Okay, fair enough.
And now the next thing that Crowtaur can do is an Atraxa, but that is going to take quite a while. And the
Just draw three lands.
meantime,
Hee.
yeah. Ooh, Get
Get
Lost is a
lost.
good one.
I do like it. Although right now I don't know how useful it is. It's probably more useful dealing with other threats, like this Bloodletter that might come down, or these Unholy Annexes. Crowtaur's just
Yeah.
kind of sitting there.
Ooh, very smart here of Sammy playing that Slasher instead of the Aclazot. So Slasher actually it's more awkward to deal with that Get Lost.
I agree. Although this Overlord draw is absolutely phenomenal, because now Crowtaur is like, here are some tokens I can block with. Here's a draw that I can have. Uh, you can attack with your Slasher if you want, but I'm just going to block it forever.
And looks
Unless
like here Crowtaur not sure on what to do.
she isn't casting it.
Also draws you a card, which is great from
Yeah,
the
I agree.
Beanstalk.
She needs those lands. She needs a blue mana for that Traxa. That needs to happen now, basically.
I mean, Slasher and Bloodletter is just a combo on itself. If that Slasher goes through with the Bloodletter on the battlefield, that's GG.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you played two blockers, right? How can Sammy kill both tokens and then play Bloodletter, right?
It's not
Oh,
possible.
okay. Well, she still passes. Let's see what happens. Is the slasher stoppable?
I mean, you can get it lost, but not forever. It will find a way eventually. Now, the Bloodletter can get lost.
That is true.
But this is still a lot of damage because look at that. 3 damage, then 3 more damage in the end step. Okay, now the Overlord is on the battlefield. It's starting
Drew
to
another,
imprint.
drawing another up the beanstalk. There you go.
Bloodletter is just so good.
It is. Gosh, it is so hard to play against sometimes. Ooh, that cut down's awkward.
So now probably just attacking with the Warlock. Oh, everything. I guess the temporary lockdown doesn't do much.
Ooh, double blocking the 2/2. That's 8 damage. Or blocks that, kills the 1/1. Okay, it's 4. Not the worst, but the lockdown is not very helpful in this matchup at all.
Yeah, and there's going to be probably another one of these Warlocks. And what would you remove?
I'd probably remove the up the beanstalk at this point, just because if it tracks the lands, that's it. Like, can't stop that. So you want to prevent Kotar from drawing lands. You want to prevent Kotar from potentially having like islands. This temporary lockdown is literally useless. Oh, this is GG actually, because Sammy has exactly what? What is that? 9, 7, 14? 14 damage.
Yeah, this is more than enough.
Yep.
And Sammy takes here game 1. There's a sideboard.
Yeah, so those cut downs are being removed, the duresses are coming in. Uh, Bats coming in still. Hostile Investigator, I love because any amount of card advantage you can eke out is perfect. That's 100% a good strategy. I love it. I love that. Um, I think that's good. I mean, I don't. Yeah, and then for yeah, those to get rid of those lockdowns. Those are not good. Unfortunately, I have a hard time like seeing what would be good to side in here.
Is Tidebinder good against maybe Slasher, or maybe against the Bloodletter of Aclazot, or maybe even against. How does it work with the room? Can you counter the ability of the room?
No, rooms are separate. They're a bit different, I think.
So you cannot
Um,
use Stitch as Tidebinder to counter the
oh,
ability of the room.
hold on, sorry. You can counter the triggered ability when it triggers. If you want to
Okay,
counter you can't counter the room being entered, but you can counter the triggered ability, as far as I'm
got
aware.
it.
Yeah. So like if Sammy plays the Unholy Annex, like that can't be countered by the Tidebender. And if Sammy opens the door to the other side, then that can't be countered. But the triggered ability can be countered, and since the Tidebender removes all abilities from the card, like the entire card is nullified until the Tidebender's gone. So that would I think that's how that works. Um, it's yeah, rooms are so interesting. I guess we were promised split card permanence, and that's what we got. So there you go. Hee hee. This binding feels so awkward right now with the specific lands that Crowtaur has. We're really feeling the effects of not having the Capenna lands right now. So unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in the previous game as well with Domain, with that leyline being 3 mana for a while. The Lord does help with that, the Green Overlord.
Absolutely. Like we don't have a green overload right now though, sadly. And one of those bindings is gone. It's a nice Fable passage for sure. It's just unfortunately not that helpful right now.
Let's see if the bat goes through. This bat goes through is actually quite important because now the Warlock gets to choose.
Yes. And if I'm Sammy here, I'd probably choose the other Leyline binding just to make sure that nothing can happen.
Yeah, that was a fast decision.
It makes sense. I would 100% do it in her position.
I would be scared of that Sunfall as well.
That is fair, but Sammy can just not put creatures on the battlefield and then just like Sammy can just play the Unholy Annex on drawing a card. And it is true that that takes damage, but like who cares? The bats gain you to life, so it's not even a
Yeah,
problem.
against Domain is not the biggest problem.
Yeah,
And I mean, this Sunfall doesn't even feel that great, to be honest.
it's not great, but getting the Leyline Binding back is extremely necessary, so it's not a bad choice.
You
And
also
then
draw a card with the Up the Beanstalk.
yes, Kotar's thinking, do I play the second Out the Beanstalk and risk this Sunfall getting discarded? Because if Sammy draws away to kill that Sunfall, then Kotar is just kind of stuck there, and then Sammy could get them a Slasher, then get them a Bloodletter. So like, there's reasons not to play. There's reasons to play Sunfall right now.
I actually wouldn't hate waiting and just taking 3 damage.
It's a risk, right? Because it's not just 3 damage. It's allowing Sammy to have like a chance to draw discard. If Sammy draws another Deep Cavern Bat and then plays the Bat and the Slasher, Kotar sits there and goes, "Well, oof." And that mana was not correct to be able to play the Overlord on 3. So there's no Atraxa coming down next turn. That is super unfortunate.
Also, these swamps look so much like islands to me, and I can never get over that.
For sure. I remember the what is it, the mountains looking like islands or something like that. Like for the I think it was the Kamigawa ones. It
Yeah,
just
and
didn't.
those oil cards all looked like swamps as well. The oil lands.
Yeah. You
That's
know what
quite a
else?
bit of damage.
You know what else looks like a swamp?
What?
Swamps.
Oh, yeah,
Swamps.
that's true. Some of them.
Some of them. Ah, what a time we live in with Magic, where does this look like a swamp? No, but it's a swamp. So, so what? Well,
I,
it's
I gotta say, My favorite art of Magic always are the swamps from the Unstable set.
Oh yeah, unstable or where I play all my basics. I have it set to that skin on arena, and that's all I ever play in real life is unstable basics, particularly islands.
This Unholy Annex is dealing quite a bit of damage because this is a demon once again that
Oh
can
yeah,
provide 2 more damage. Now, there might be a Leyline Binding, but it's still 2 mana, so it's still not doable right now. So down to 4 life.
that's crazy that this annex is being allowed is like even allowed to deal that much damage, like at all. Like Phyrexian Arena is already a good card. It's considered one of the best black card draw spells like that has ever been printed that isn't Necropotence. And then you have this card, which is like, well, time to deal extra damage to your opponents.
Yeah. Now, Atraxa is very risky because then if Sammy has something like a Go for Throat, that's GG.
Yeah, Crowtaur has to play it extremely carefully here. She can't play Traxa, but she also can't just hold removal. I think her best bet is to, knowing what she knows, pretending that I don't know Sammy's hand, keeping up the Leyline Binding, keeping up the Get Lost, try to kill the demon, try to kill the room, probably. Just make it so that Sammy can't deal that much damage. But that Caustic Bronco is down. Like, honestly, I'd be tempted to play the Leyline Binding just to draw 2 cards. There is an incubator token though, so it's not like the Bronco will never go through.
Yeah, so I like that as well. The fact that drawing 2 cards can draw some answers.
Frillback
Frillback
is
is a good
so
one.
so good here actually, because that comes in, kills the room, and gains 4 life. Those are all exactly what Crowtaur needs.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
really good.
blocker.
It is a blocker for the Bronco. It does 3 things in 1 card. That is perfect. Probably the perfect draw.
And this might be the turn of the table.
It might in fact be the turn of the table. You are correct.
And we have the destroy enchantment there, gaining life. Ooh,
Ooh.
Liliana. I like that.
If the Frillback was not the draw, Liliana would be a lot more threatening here. But like, it's totally fine right now, and that Atraxa might just come down.
So Liliana minus attack, draw a card, take some damage, but that's fine.
Well, the slasher didn't get cast first. That could have been 4 damage dealt with the. Oh no, I'm being silly because the saddle is 3. You need 3 power to saddle that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So
My
he
bad, my
cannot
bad, my bad.
settle.
See, look at me yet again. I'm providing misinformation. This is,
No, because you auto corrected it yourself immediately. So
true. Everything's fine. No problems, no problems, no problems.
you were
I guess
like fake news immediately.
I guess Liliana. Oh no, they're gonna just double hit the slasher. I guess that makes sense actually, because uh, she knows that Sammy has the bloodletter. There is no way that she can allow this bloodletter to enter and to be able to potentially win the game. Like if Sammy has a removal spell
I
somehow,
agree.
yeah,
But now
it's too
things
risk.
are getting a bit awkward
Yes, it's fish time.
because Sammy cannot attack, and she knows that Crowtaur is going to get that Atraxa next turn.
Yeah, this attracts.
Oh, oh wow.
If this reveals a 5 mana spell, Crowtar just dies.
What are the odds? Probably not that high, but they are
The,
there.
the the room costs 8 mana, so that might just be a win right away.
But it can be a land.
If it's a land, then the Bronco dies. Crowtar gains 3 life, and then goes to 13, and then Traxa just wins. This is a risk. Sammy did crew it, so she did want to do this.
Yeah, I mean, and she crewed using the blood letter that
Oh,
could have
she's going
blocked
for it.
him.
Here we go. Oh.
Oh,
You're right. It is a land.
I
You're
mean,
right.
I knew that 100% if it was me doing it, it would be a land. If it would be my opponent, it would be the an only annex thing that deals a bunch of damage.
Yo, take 16.
Yeah, that
What's
would
the
have been
matter?
it.
What's the problem? Draws another Atraxa. Draws an archive. I think this angel's probably hitting the Liliana. Nissa? Frillback? Herd Migration? Overlord? Okay, alright, 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 okay.
But I think at this point is when you click that little wheel on the top right corner of your arena and think about conceding because
Oh
this
shit.
attracts it is so good.
It's like she heard you.
I mean, look at this. Gaining life.
She's considering it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe she can just look at the next top deck to be like, okay, this is what I would have drawn.
Yeah. Let's just draw the next three cards, just see what they were. Oh, 3 lands. Wow. That sucks.
Because at this point, I mean, you know that there's Anissa, you know that there's Earth Migration, Frillback,
There goes that.
there's Atraxa. So best case scenario, Sammy draws what? A removal spell?
There it is. That is game 2. So we're on game 3, my friends.
I love to have game threes, and here right away, no sideboard. I like what I had for game two, so let's keep it going. And we see on the other side domain taking a bit more on out to sideboard here.
I like this the way it is. The frillback is extremely clutch here. I don't think negate is ever worth it. Tidebender might be worth it, like marginally. I think Beza is actually a fantastic choice. Like instead of herd migration, for instance, because it's a creature, so it can't be duressed. It blocks basically everything, including unstoppable slasher. It adds tokens, it gains you life, and if you're low on cards because of all the discard, you get to draw extra cards. So it
So
basically blockades everything your opponent could do.
here's my issue with sideboarding Kuro, and maybe you can give me useful tips to me and people watching at home, which
Yeah,
is I know what I want to add, but I
yeah.
don't know what I want to remove from my deck. So how do you approach these? Like, okay, I want to put some bases. I think maybe Tidebinder would be fine, but what do I remove?
Well, I guess at a certain point, it's sort of like you have to think about the game you just played and think about like, did I really want to draw herd migration here? And in that game, herd migration was sort of like whatever. Um, Whereas Beza would have been far better, right? Nissa is a little too expensive, so she probably could be a good side out. The Tranquil Throwback was fantastic, right? So you just think about like there's some stuff that looks good on paper, but then you play it in a game and you're like, wow, this sucked. It did not work out the way I wanted it to. And once you identify that, that sort of helps the most. But it can be a little difficult, especially when it's like Nissa is a one of. It wasn't even played, right? So how do you evaluate that? It's really hard.
So we have Deep Cavern Bat here choosing a card, and it's going to be a difficult decision with Leyline Binding, Get Lost, Sunfall, and Tranquil Frillback. And I see we have Fauxglove on chat asking, is this the first match today? It is not, and you did miss your match, right? We saw Fauxglove match here before.
Oh, we saw it first, I believe. Yeah, it was a good match.
There's always a replay button, so that's the good part.
Yes.
The
Well,
VOD is always available.
Sammy has a really good curve right now because that slasher could come down, the warlock could come down, and then Crowtaur is basically left without anything. Oh, there's the slasher. Ooh, this angel's so awkward. Like it's sort of not doing anything right now. Crowtaur's like, I have to play it. Oh. Oh my gosh, that would be so unfortunate. The game just ended in the middle of the stream. Surely not. Surely it's fine. So obviously this is going to block the slasher. Unfortunately, that means the slasher is going to come back in a couple turns. And there's another slasher here. Oh, unlucky. Crowtaur needs to get that Sunfall down. But the main issue with this is that Sammy has that Warlock that's going to be taking that Sunfall away. And once that Sunfall's taken away, I think it'll be really difficult for Crowtaur to have a way out of this. Especially after that slasher deals half the damage of Crowtaur's life total.
That angel that might be dropped just as a 3/4 life link.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good blocker for the slasher, but Sammy has ways to deal with Kotar's like high hand. That Sunfall needs to come down, but I don't think Sammy's gonna be able to make that work.
Unless Sammy just attacks with both creatures. Ooh, okay. Blocking here the slasher instead of the bat, so that's working out in Sammy's favor. And now we get to get rid of that Sunfall.
Yeah, it has to go. You can't let Sunfall stay like that. It's too dangerous. But those both of those slashers are kind of in bad shape. If Crotar has an actual Sunfall here beyond the one that was taken from the Warlock, that could be bad news.
And what do you take with Leyline Binding? Because all these cards are threatening, but the slashers still have counters on them, so
I like the binding, especially since it draws a card with the beanstalk.
we might see a 6/6 demon now.
We might we might see the room just be a 6/6 token, but we might see Archfiend as well. I think it's dependent. If I were Sammy, I think I would want to be mana efficient and probably just make a 6/6 token because it costs less mana. Oh, or just play that. That's fine too.
Yeah, that's a bit more aggressive, which is nice as well. And I mean, Sammy knows about the Leyline Binding, and Crowtaur is kind of hoping that one of those cards is going to be a Sunfall.
Yeah, Kotar needs a Sunfall. Nissa is not a terrible draw, but unfortunately, it's very expensive. And
Yeah,
if this Nissa was like, I think it was a like if this was a Beza right now, if this Nissa was a Beza right now, Kotar could play a land, play a get lost on a creature, and then play Beza, draw a card, make tokens, gain life, and be in really good shape. So this is sort of what I'm describing, right? Last game, Nissa was sort of whatever. In this matchup, Nissa is also sort of whatever. But if that were a Beza right now, like if that slot was swapped in, Beza would be so amazing right now. And that's sort of how you know that that would be the sideboarding option. And if you apply that sort of reverse thinking, sometimes it requires you to think about the full game like afterwards, but that's sort of like the mindset of it.
and we might have that get lost now on the Archmage, and it has to be. I mean, you don't really have. Is it Archmage or Archfiend?
Archfiend.
Archfiend.
Yeah, the Fiend is a lot of damage. The Slasher's a lot of damage. The Nissa can only block one creature with the token. It's not amazing, sadly.
I'm very
It's like,
curious
what do
to.
you even use it on?
I wish I was in Crowtaur like brain to see like what is she thinking about, you know, like what is going through her mind right now.
I think she's thinking like, how much damage do I want to take every turn? Because the slashers kind of make it make that a mood question. Like it doesn't matter because as long as those creatures are hitting, it's like, well, you're taking infinite damage.
Yeah.
Half your life total is just gone. Okay, well that sucks. It is what it is. And Sam is thinking about how can I build the sports state in a way that doesn't lose to Sunfall. Because that's why she's not just hand slamming down literally every creature she has, right? She's thinking if I get
No
hit by
Sunfall
Sunfall,
detected.
yeah, that's really unfortunate. Um,
I mean, this Nissa doesn't do much. I mean, it creates a giant creature, but it doesn't fly.
No,
Or
it
as
doesn't.
reach.
It gets killed not that easily, to be fair. And casting it here is not bad because Crowtaur gets to draw a card from the up the beanstalk. But man, God, if that were Beza right now, it'd be so good. It'd be so good.
Ooh, and I think Crowtar taking some damage there and getting rewarded because now this Get Lost can get cast. That's going to take care of the Arcfiend. Nisa creates a 4/4. But here, Crowtar just living turn by turn, trying to survive one turn after the other.
I like leaving out the mana for the get lost. That's pretty good. It's sort of like the only necessary play. Now, those fountain ports can sacrifice those map tokens and get some cards, which is really important right now.
Yeah.
Like everything Sammy's doing is basically like a slow bleed for Crowtar. Um, Cosmic Bronco, that's pretty good. Oh, but it's getting discarded because it's not necessary. I
I
think
mean, at
Sammy's
this point, what card do you really keep?
uh probably the Bloodletter of Aclazotz.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a great one.
That'll do it. This
Everything
one,
face.
yeah, you ignore the Nissa entirely. You don't need to worry about it at all. Kill, get lost on the 6/6. So Crowtar only takes 3. It's not the worst, but like she's really like struggling in card draw right now. She needs like a series of good cards to draw right now to win the game.
Ooh, just going for the 6/6 right away.
Why not? Welp, that
Oh,
is a land.
that's not the card that Crowtar needed. Sunfall would actually have been so good here, because that also draws you a card.
Sunfall would have been the best possible draw, and unfortunately, Sammy got rid of that ages ago.
You could minus with Nisa to take care of that um unholy annex, but now
No,
there's
there's
not much.
no. Crowtar has no way to win this game. Like Sammy might think that Crowtar is bluffing. That would be the only way she lives an extra turn, but Crowtar has no resources to deal with 8 damage. Uh, I do believe Sammy's going to win this game.
Yeah, I think if we had an advantage bar with the information that we know, it would be 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think here just Crowtar really thinking like, is there any way out of this? Ooh,
Well,
and then go for throat, just being the nail in the coffin.
yeah, and those fountain ports can dissect those map tokens and get value as well.
Another go for
Oh my
throat.
god, another good for the throat. That is ridiculous.
So let's just deal 9 damage.
Make it 10.
Oh yeah, 10 damage.
Oh, right, the thing has menace. I always forget about that. It's so many abilities.
Yeah, it is a very good card actually. I'm excited to see it play. I actually saw in the Mono Black's player Sammy in their player profile, it was
Yeah.
something about how this deck cutted some of the 4 drops and went for more 3 drops. So I really like this approach of cutting so many 4 drops and having now the slasher, this warlock as well, the unholy annex. So just kind of lowering a bit the curve of this deck. And I feel like the annex really make this deck pop. And I feel like it might be one of the best decks to start playing now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just has so much power in it. It's all the best removal, all the best threats, and all the best card draw, basically.
Kuro, after our 4 matches of the day, do you have any highlights that you want to share?
Mm, pay attention to Oculus. It has its eye on you.
I was thinking that. I was thinking Oculus was pretty cool. I think we had a lot of fun matches for today. I hope everyone enjoyed. We have only one more week of playoffs until the playoffs, so make sure you tune in. Next week is going to be Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. The streams have changed a bit the timing. It's actually the first time that we are casting together on a Sunday, so it's it feels a bit different. Very excited here to be in the VML once again. Thank you so much, Kuro. Thank you so much for Phoebe for being our amazing producer. Thank you for everyone watching and Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring the VML. We will be back next week.